Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting tonight. Today is October 28, 2019. We're going to call this meeting order at 7:30 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Zielinski?
Here.
Trustee Juarez is absent this evening. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Nava-Esparza? Here. Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So again, just as a reminder, folks, I appreciate all the students coming out tonight. I know a lot of your schools assign you for a government class. Please keep in mind, tonight is what we call a committee meeting, so we're going to discuss a lot of topics that we're going to be sometimes voting on next week. So this is more information, but it's good information that you can certainly share back with your schools then too. So thank you for being here tonight. Did everybody get an agenda too? Were there enough agendas out there? Okay, thanks. And starting with officers' reports, starting with myself, I wanted to just report that last Friday we called Arbor Day. We celebrated Arbor Day here in the village, and I was out with Public Works. Mike, you guys did a great job. Last week we were at Coca-Cola manufacturing plant on 122nd and Laramie, and we planted 12 trees along 122nd Street and another dozen down Laramie. Actually, you know what? I'm pretty handy. I was in the glass business for 25 years, and I can fix a car. I can do the. They taught us a little bit about how to plant a tree, and that was actually pretty interesting. How the correct way to plant trees. And Coca-Cola had their morning staff come out with us at 10 o'clock in the morning when they changed shifts a little later in the day. We had the afternoon shift over on Laramie Street, and they planted a dozen trees over there, and it was really nice to see. Another thing I was interested to do, Mike and I spent a little time with the plant manager over there, and we're aware that Coke is going to be putting up two approximately, like 300,000 square foot warehouses, and we did approve a variance for them to go. Now, typically, we've got an ordinance here that says you can only build 45 feet tall. We approved going 90 to 100 foot tall, right, at the max. About 90 feet they're going to go. So, and what it was explained to us, they're actually going to go to a computered inventory, like racking system. So they got better control over all their product lines. Right now, Coke's got 4 product lines at that facility. They're going to go to like 6, which will create like 30 more routes. So there's 2 men per truck. So this could mean 60 to 100 jobs that come out of Coca-Cola. They're also going to do a build out on their office facility too, and they're actually going to bring in more personnel over there at the same time in their office side of life. So we really appreciate Coca-Cola making an investment like this in our community, and this is really going to be a lot of it puts even more emphasis on what I do to try and influence business to come to town. But we really want to engage with these people, whether it's shopping, meals, whatever, everything we can do to try and help facilitate and support our business industry, and the industrial parks is what I want to say. Next, I want to thank all the department heads for participating in the newsletter that came out over this weekend. If you haven't got one yet, it may still be coming to your home. We do have some extra copies here if you'd like. The department heads did a great job with the content, and my assistant Becky Smith. Becky, nice job putting everything together. I already here it's a Monday. I got a lot of compliments through email and so forth today. People really like the look of it already, so good job. Becky also, today's her first day back after a week of, Becky spent a week at a class on economic development. So Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville was the source of the training. Becky completed a 28-hour class, and we actually had a grant that paid for that through scholarship through AT&T, right? Well, again, we thank AT&T. We'll certainly send them a big thank you for that, because you were giving me an overview today of what you learned, And certainly you can put a report together to share with the trustees and stuff then too, on what you did all week. They used some really, you said some of the examples they used were like Naperville, and it's kind of, with the river walk and things like that. Everyone wishes they had a river walk and so forth, so it was good stuff. But thank you for doing that, Becky. Next. Trustees, Becky and I had a meeting today with a local business, and they were promoting their Toys for Tow Trucks drive. They asked if they could put a box in the village hall, and also the towing company in town. This is IRS Towing. They actually offer free lockouts, right, to veterans and stuff? One free lockout to anybody? I thought it was veterans.
Well, the veterans.
Seniors and veterans, yeah. But anyway, she asked if they can put a donation box out there, and part of this donation box is not just donations that you can contribute to, but you can also drop a request in there for toys if you feel there's a family in need that they can get back to and facilitate that as well too. So it's not just on the donation side, but if there's somebody there that you know that needs something, you can drop a note in the box, and they're happy to try and facilitate that. Also today, I had communication over the weekend. Well, last week I attended we are a member of the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association, and I attended a meeting there last week with their legislative committee, and I had asked them to include the Village of Alsip, because I've been to a couple of meetings like this, in the revenue share for any possible casino in the south suburbs. There's over 42 suburbs that were selected as part of that bill that was approved by both the Senate and House of Representatives. And there was 3 suburbs that weren't included that should have been. It was Alsip, Mokina, and Peatone. And so at the meeting I was at last week, I had asked for the support of the South Suburban Mayors and Managers, and their legislative committee agreed to include us in that in what's known as a trailer bill. So last June, I had spoke to our state senators and state reps, and they had spoke with Senate President Cullerton, said they were going to have a trailer bill introduced at the veto sessions coming up. That's why the General Assembly's going back to work right now. There was a legislative bill drafted to support the inclusiveness of us and the other 2 communities, and it was filed by State Representative Anthony DeLuca. Today I communicated with both of our state senators, both Bill Cunningham and Emil Jones III, as well as both of our state reps, Fran Hurley and Justin Slaughter, and they all have this information in front of them, and it is being presented at the veto session to include Alsip into a revenue share should a casino get built. So I thanked everyone for their assistance and looking out for our interest in this matter, especially when State Representative Bob Rita, I met with him a month and a half, 2 months ago, and he did say that he would include us as well, and he was the one who drafted the bill. Again, keeping up with 42 names on villages is sometimes a daunting task, and again, we're in good company when you look at 2 other misses with just Mokina and Peatone. These are both both very good communities, as Alsip is, and we appreciate their support and keeping us inclusive into that revenue share for casino. I think it's a 3% share. There's not a whole lot left when you talk about 45 towns, but it is what it is, so we'll take it.
So would we be getting similar to other surrounding towns?
Be the same
Connecting
share,
towns?
Same share everybody else gets, yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was at this meeting last week. They sent this to me on Friday, and today everybody got a copy of that. I sent everyone a copy downstate. First thing on your agendas this evening, I had a discussion regarding recreational cannabis sales and zoning within the Village of Alsip. Trustees, I passed out to everyone a packet of information. This is similar to what I passed out once before. there's actually a summary sheet and analysis that was actually put together by Police Chief Jay Miller. And basically what the chief put together was a document that summarized the potential impact of the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, which will become effective January 1st, 2020. The impact is, his report is divided into two sections. The first outlines concerns and potential negative impacts of the authorization of licensed establishments outlined in the legislation. The second section highlights concerns for public safety resulting from public use of cannabis. So the chief gave us a full report on that. The second section that you see there is actually was comprised by our village attorney, Joe Kankar. And I'll share with you the memo that Attorney Kankar drafted for us. He says, with the January 1st, 2020 allowance of adult use cannabis fast approaching, I took the liberty of preparing a draft ordinance governing the citing of cannabis organizations in the village of Alsip. I wanted to provide this ordinance as a starting point for the village officials before forwarding to zoning for a public hearing. I did not locate any existing zoning ordinance for medical cannabis facilities on the books, which we do have. I include that in Section 3. There is a license portion in the village code for medical cannabis. I'm sorry, that's what we have in there for medical cannabis. I apologize. But oddly, nothing stating where they can and cannot go. So Joe basically started anew. He says, I cited all cannabis organizations in the industrial zoning districts, cannabis dispensing organizations, and cannabis transportation organizations are allowed as special uses in the I-1, basically, which is known as light industrial district. All cannabis organizations are permitted as special uses in the I-2 and I-2A. These are zoning codes, meaning these are medium industrial districts, and only cannabis industrial organizations are permitted as special uses in the I-3 and I-3A, which are also known as heavy industrial districts. Again, I know I'm reading a lot into the record, folks, but especially for the students, if you ever want to go back and refresh all this, we're actually taping all this right now, so you can go on YouTube, and this whole meeting's on YouTube with the camera facing us. It's not on you guys, so. Always want to throw it in. I don't want anybody on camera out there and stuff then, too, so. Next, there are some other local restrictions that I highlighted that you can remove or fill in, such as street frontages and where certain organizations are not allowed. We have that ability to do so. I included the provisions that dispensaries could not be located within 1 mile of another dispensary. He also says they prohibited the use of cannabis in the dispensaries, and also put a time on put out a time restriction as well. So we're going to use what he put in here, and we can certainly adjust a lot of this. That's why I want to give everybody this information tonight. I actually do have like maybe a half dozen copies of this available at my desk in case anybody in the public would like a copy of that. I also, today, trustees, in everyone's mailbox, I took from the State of Illinois website was the adult use cannabis summary. I won't go into all this because there's actually 14 pages. I know how much everybody loves to hear me read up here and stuff then, too. All right, I'm just looking here. I wasn't saying anything. I was just looking your way, that's all, you know.
Sure you don't want water?
Yeah, no. So, anyway, there's 14 pages here, and again, I've got about a half a dozen copies of this here as well, too, that really explain the personal use of this product and so forth, then, too. What's going to be allowed as far as product is concerned, promoting equity. There's actually a point system to actually qualify to be dispensary, ownership, and obviously fees associated with them too. I tell you, when the state breaks this out, when you look at the licensing costs for, let's say, cultivation organizations, the non-refundable application fee is $100,000. Dispensing organizations, roughly about the same. And it tells about the wave of how many licenses are going to be available. Anyone that's got a medical distribution dispensary is going to be entitled to a license, but then they're only going to create 75 new dispensing organizations on the first wave, and then the second wave would create like 110 more. They got to see how all this goes. This is so new to the state of Illinois. So what we're going to do, trustees and everyone in the public, what I'm going to recommend is we have a public hearing on something like this, because this is obviously something very new to our community. Right now, just so everyone understands, because the state adopted this, basically all towns are included in the dispensary of product starting January 1, 2020. It would be up to the village if we ever decided if we wanted to opt out for any reason, we could vote to opt out. But more importantly is if we're going to stay in, we need to be in agreement on what, let's say, where our attorney drafted as far as zoning is concerned, as well as any other issues that may come of this as well then too. So again, there's a ton here to digest. That's why I've had this conversation going for the last couple of months, and I don't think we're going to resolve it in the next half hour to get that done and stuff then too. But what I'm going to recommend is, because we have to post this in the newspaper, you have to give at least a 15-day notice and whatnot. What I'd like to do is post in the paper and maybe have a public hearing at a committee meeting, let's say at the end of November. We can do it like November 25th, and then vote on something like this in our first meeting in December, like December 2nd, and do something like that. This way, everyone's got a few weeks to kind of really read up on this and really form an opinion if you want to make any changes to the ordinance that Attorney Kankar drafted. And in the meantime, you know, I actually had our IT department, I had them create a new email address for this as well too. If the public wants to share anything with us, it's going to be, I believe I had, you know what, I don't have it right in front of me, but I believe it was, Becky, did I have, was it recreational cannabis at villageofalsip.org? Okay, we're going to advertise it. We'll advertise the website address and stuff.
So do you want the public hearing then at 6:30?
Yeah, we can move it up to 6:30.
To
on the
6:30.
25th, just in case there's a big turnout. We can facilitate it and
Okay,
stuff then.
but
too.
then we'll go ahead and we'll follow the normal posting procedures. Okay.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Kevin.
you asked Finance to do a short presentation on the revenue side.
Mhm.
It's probably 5 minutes or so. Do you want to do that today, or would you want to do that at that?
Why don't we do it at the public hearing, because you might
That's
have
fine.
more of a captured audience that way then too.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Trustees, any questions on this right now? Okay.
The only thing I would like to say, Mayor, since you mentioned that the village can opt out, I just want to clarify for the audience, it's not that we can opt out of allowing marijuana, it's we can opt out of allowing dispensaries.
Thank you. Yeah, we can opt out of allowing dispensaries in town, but then you're, based on the information that we have, and that's why I'm asking Kent to follow through too, is, you know, the whole idea that the state came up with this whole process was not to, obviously not to get beat, let's say, just too loose with the idea of cannabis, but was the idea to generate unconventional revenue, which is to help both the state and the local governments here and stuff then too. So, yeah, that's when it says opt out, just the sale of. Regardless if you opt out of the sale or not, you're still going to have product here regardless and stuff then too. I did invite anyone here this evening that was maybe a member of the different taxing bodies in town. I sent an email, I should say, to Arnie Franker with the Alsip Industrial Association, Mary Grace Snooks with the Alsip Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Craig Gwaltney, the superintendent of 126 schools, Superintendent Tom Livingston of District 125 schools, Dr. Ty Harding with the District 218 schools, and Dr. Bridget McNeil with District 130 school. I did send everyone an invite to come to this evening's meeting, but should anybody be here and wish to speak to this, that's fine. If they wish to come back to the public hearing as well, that's also, you're also invited to do the same. I told Mr. Gwaltney that I would share his thoughts with everyone. He said that, Mayor, thank you for the invite. I'm going to pass on attending the meeting this evening. As an elementary district, the use of marijuana and alcohol is already prohibited, regardless if the village allows the sale of. The new law is written to mirror the law regarding alcohol when it comes to how we, as a school district, will address things. As you know, it opens up some challenges for how to deal with employees and their possible use. I've been to several law conferences already, learning how we will address it. Mr. Gwaltney says, as far as whether the village approves dispensaries, it would not change much for the way the school district would deal with the use. Being that all of our schools are located within a neighborhood, I'm not concerned about having one of these across the street from one of our buildings as well. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Always happy to talk, and thank Chief Miller for your thoughts too. I told him about our conversations on this as well too. So thank you, Mr. Gwaltney, for your input on that. Was there anybody here in the public that I sent this to that maybe wanted to speak to this as well tonight, or otherwise you can wait till next time we meet? Nobody? Okay. Then we'll talk.
Yes, I think on behalf of the chamber and the industrial use would want to be sure that we were told where these dispensaries, should they come through,
Sure.
where they would be located.
Okay, so for the record, because we're recording, what Ms. Snooks asked was, on behalf of the Chamber and the Industrial Association, was just when we do get an application, should we decide to, when we have a meeting on that, when we're going to approve, let's say that's special use, they want to be included in that conversation just to know where it's going to go, that's all. So, yeah, happy to do that, that's fine. We have, Becky and I, we've had a couple of people already approach us that want to set up dispensaries. They haven't identified a particular location. They just want to know if Alsip's going to allow them to do it. And at the time, we even had this enough discussion to give them an informative answer. I don't want to sit on the sideline too long, because if we're going to participate in this, which again we already are, unless we opt out, I don't want to miss that boat. I don't want to miss that opportunity too, because that's substantial revenue you're talking about then too. So, which I'm sure the taxpayers would appreciate us taking a look at. Next on my agenda, I had a request to approve a master poll agreement between the Village of Alsip and the designated licensor. I'm sorry, before I moved on to this, Chief Miller, did you want to add anything to this too? I know I took a lot of your notes is what I was putting together for everybody here. Did you want to add anything else to the conversation on that?
No, I just want to thank Trustee McLaughlin for clarifying that you can't outlaw it for the whole village.
Exactly. Okay.
I saw some comments on social media, and
yeah, we can't prohibit that use because the state's already approved it. It's just the sale off. That's it. So again, going back to number 2 is an approval of a master poll agreement between the Village of Alsip and a designated licensor with New Singular Wireless, PCS LLC. This is actually a division of AT&T, and what we're being asked to do is allow them to put up cell boxes to assist the cellular use on our utility poles. The wireless support structures and or the real property which are located within the geographic area of the village, whereas this particular licensee desires to install, maintain, and operate small wireless facilities in and upon certain utility poles, wireless support structures, and or real property. So this is a popular request, and from what I'm told, the state's already agreed to let this happen, but they have to obviously have an agreement with each municipality that they do this in yet too. Anyone have any questions?
In looking through it, I was kind of concerned with what is proposed as being the annual cost, as well as the abandonment section. Talk about 12 months of not used in a continuous manner. How are we, as a municipality, going to know it's not being used and it hasn't been used for that duration? On page 11.
That's where I'm at right now, page 11. Should the licensor at any time during the term of a sale decide to sell or transfer all or part of the property or grant of such easement or interest, that's not it. The notices,
It's the rental, and the section 10 is the abandonment.
okay, so a small wireless facility that is not operated for a continuous period of 12 months shall be considered abandoned. The licensee must remove all the equipment and so forth. And like you said, trustee, so under rental, each supplement shall be effective as of the date of execution by both parties. Initial term shall be for a term of 5 years and shall commence on the first month. So what they're saying is rental for the use of any poles pursuant to this agreement shall be a fee of $200 per each wireless facility. And thereafter, rent will be due at each annual anniversary and its commencement date. Is that what you're looking at?
Right. It's $200 for each of those small cells.
Right.
So that being itself, I mean, the typical, I think right now on our water, we get $300 or $3,500 per month.
I think that's because at the, but obviously they're, I'm not sure.
I get it, the elevation of what
Yeah, I'm not
those
sure of the
things are.
volume of the elevation, right.
But typically, these are for like the 5G networks that are coming out now, and I understand that we can't prohibit it, but it just seems like it's a pretty lucrative rate to them as far as that goes. I don't know how many would actually be put onto our
You don't want-
structures as opposed to ComEd.
Right, yeah, because I read this once, and I understand what you're saying. I mean, I'm looking at it's $200, that's a little box so big that goes on the light pole. But I understand what your concern, though, too, is how much volume is this thing kind of handling at the same time, too?
Well, I mean, just as far as the annual rate goes, it seems to be pretty,
Soft on our end, right.
and then the
$200 a
abandonment
year,
side of
that's-
it, I've been dealing with wireless carriers for a really long time.
Okay,
And generally, they're very secretive about who's on what structure and the facings of them. It's only when they first put them in that you're made aware of it, and they talk to the 911 coordination with regards to that. But they'll never tell you if it's working or not.
let me see if I can get a comparative number, because this is obviously all sent to me by our attorney, Beth Attard.
Right.
Let me double check with Beth and see if she's got a comparative number to make sure that we're in the right ballpark with this.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure of that.
Sure, okay.
Thank you.
Good catch.
Next was the discussion regarding a variance for a ground-based LED billboard within the village of Alsip. We brought this up, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, and I wanted to know if the board was interested in considering a variance to our sign code. Basically, our attorney at Joe Kankar had mentioned when we brought this up back when, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about is possibly doing a billboard similar to what, and everyone's might have saw that sign at like 103rd and Cicero in Oak Lawn. It's kind of a ground-based sign, and it's a nice-sized sign that's out there. And it was presented to us by Chicago Billboards that it would be of no cost to the village to have us participate with the sign. And they might have like a dozen different businesses that might be participating in that sign, and we can use it for the use that we see fit as far as advertising, promotional things for the village, Amber Alerts, you name it, and like whatever the time criteria is, it's like... you
10
would-
seconds.
10 seconds? Per notice.
Right.
And let's say you
Per
get...
slide.
So you get a dozen people on there, so every 120 seconds, you would see our ad.
Right.
2 minutes, 2 minutes, thank you, we would jump up again.
Right.
So, basically, right now, I think what stood in our way was the question, what the problem was, is that our ordinance says that electronic messages, LED-type signs, shall be permitted in the business district, provided that they do not advertise any businesses that are not located on the property, and the LED portion of the sign shall not exceed 50 square feet in distance, in area, is what they call it. This, in other words, the size of the sign. So what, I guess what I'm asking the board is, are you interested in changing this, and as far as modeling the language to, like, say, for instance, the last time this language was ever, this ordinance was even touched was back in 2004. I am going to be talking about some luminance ordinances pretty soon as far as how bright signs can be, so we can regulate how bright signs are, but more importantly, is the board interested in pursuing this idea of having one of these electronic message boards, billboards, and doing a variance to accommodate the language that we've gotten here, that we can do so?
Mayor, did they ever get back to you as to the locations that they proposed within the village? I know they went around and they said they were going to go around and cite different areas that they would suggest.
Becky, did they give us a list on that? On this original one?
There was emails that they sent it out to the King Cars when we did this contract.
Yeah, I don't have the new addresses, but yes, they did. How many addresses did they?
Maybe 4.
Yeah, I was going to say it was like 4 or 5 addresses. So we can continue that discussion more so, but we want to bring this back to the table because we hadn't revisited this since we spoke last. And we can talk about locations. Obviously, we're going to be in agreement. We have to agree to wherever it is that we want to put these signs and stuff then too, you know. So was there any questions on this?
What of Pandora's box?
Exactly.
As far as changing the language on something like
Once you
that?
open it up for one,
You just open up to just one for the village. I think the maker
that's-
You gotta come.
looked at it.
You gotta come.
So, what Becky was saying was the attorneys have looked at it. It's our discretion. It's what we think. You know, I mean, if we were doing something that we thought was, you know, we're not paying for the service. We're not, and our benefit would certainly just be promoting the community. You know, we're not making money on something like this yet, too. So it'd be one thing if we had a transmission business and we were advertising and we were making money on selling transmissions all day, but
it's on a public way, so we're granting the use of that location, and even though they build it up and they decorate it nicely, it still provides a distraction for people, drivers, and Illinois being a vicarious liability state, when somebody sits there and says, I was reading the message and that's the reason why I got in the accident, and we enabled it, do we assume any liability for that as well?
well, if it's going on a, like many billboards, I mean, you could pull up and be looking at a message board in front of McDonald's doing the same thing, you know, and have the same problem. So, I mean,
McDonald's
yeah,
would be liable for that, not us.
we wouldn't, there's no liability on this for us.
I wouldn't believe that.
It's our property, and we're the one who are providing that one-time authorization so we can get a 10-second message out every 2 minutes.
It wouldn't, no, trust me, it wouldn't be on our property. I mean, we don't have any public property that we can put this on.
It's on the public right of way,
Yeah.
and we have to allow that to be built along those ways. So,
There was language in there about private property on a corner that a certain business would own, and they would pay rent. Am I remembering that
Yeah,
right? They would
right.
pay rent to that property owner to erect that sign. I think the sign that Mayor Ryan's talking about is actually, I believe that corner, that area is actually owned by BP.
PP.
And I think they pay them rent, or they give them sign time I think that's how it was.
As long as we don't incur liability, that's my
Right.
major
Right.
concern.
Right. So Becky, let's get that list of locations, and in the meantime, like anything else, that's why we have multiple meetings, and I have to at least bring, I got to bring these topics up in order for us to have more conversation on something like this then, too. But we all, I've spoken to somebody, I've actually got the sample ordinance or the ordinance that Oak Lawn passed when they did theirs, but I don't believe their ordinance on signage was as stringent as ours, where we couldn't advertise for third parties. Theirs was more open-end. So and they didn't have to deal with this as much. And again, it would be placed on a private property with, at no cost to the village. So again, that's a digital sign by Chicago billboards. And I'll take care of that. Okay, and like I said, I'll take care of that advertising for the public hearing on November 25th. That's all I had for tonight. The clerk's report?
Thank you, Mayor. Ryan, nothing in particular, just a couple of tidbits of information. Please, for anybody in the audience, when you enter the boardroom, if you would silence your cell phones during meetings, we would appreciate it. And secondly, Becky, again, nice job on the newsletter. In the newsletter is an orange flyer for you to put up in your window if you are going to host trick-or-treaters. So Thursday, trick-or-treating is from 3:30 to 7:30. Please be careful driving in the neighborhoods. Watch for the little ones crossing the street that aren't paying attention or can't see because of masks. That's all, Mayor Ryan.
All right, thank you. Standing committee reports. Finance Committee, Trustee McLaurin.
Public
Public
forum,
forum.
please.
Forum.
Oh, sorry, public forum. Did anyone in the audience want to address the board this evening? Nobody? All right, thank you. Then we'll go to the standing committees. Finance Committee, Trustee McLaurin.
First, I will have a list of payroll and accounts payable for approval. And then next, I have a request for approval for the finance director to attend the Illinois Municipal Treasurers Association Institute's Advanced Seminar for Treasurers in Bloomington, Illinois, November 19th through the 21st, at a cost of $265 for registration and $265 for hotel and meals. And that's all I have under finance.
Okay. Fire Committee, Trustee Murphy.
I have a discussion on replacing the remaining 11 windows at a cost of $7,675. 3 quotes were obtained. Chief, did you want to speak to that?
Those are the remaining windows. Those are on the bay side of the firehouse. We replaced all the living room side 3 or 4 years ago, somewhere right around there, so these are the remaining windows. We budgeted, I believe, $11,000, so it is in this year's budget to have this completed.
And that's all I have, sir.
I was just looking at the math sheet, about $700 per window?
Correct. Yeah, we got 3 quotes. The lowest quote is from a business in town on top of it, so.
Okay. I know, sometimes you look at a number like that, and you're just like, how much is that per window? Yeah, 700 seems about, but that's obviously tear out, install, and all that kind of
Correct.
thing.
We had, the highest amount was $22,000. Yeah, it was incredible.
Okay, who's the contractor on this?
I forgot, they're right off 123rd and Latrobe,
Okay,
so.
okay.
Welsh's, yeah, Welsh's.
Okay, thanks. Police and Traffic Safety, Trustee Dalzell.
Trustee McLaurin had requested we take a look at the Laramie Avenue parking in the area surrounding the firehouse. So I'm going to talk to the fire chief.
Then he's leaving.
Chief, you got a minute, please?
No, it's not now.
Oh.
We'll get back together.
It's in
thank you.
regards to no parking around Station 2.
Okay.
Because we talked, especially on the nights when the sprinkler fitters are having their meetings, how congested it gets along Laramie. So the request is to make immediately in front of the firehouse, no parking.
Signs up there for it, yeah, absolutely. It'd be a good idea, especially if you're in the Bay Area, absolutely. That's probably most important over there.
Yeah.
We've done before, even like when Chief, not too long ago, you told us it was all right with the, they had like a special election at the sprinkler fitters, and we actually used the west side of Laramie, like against the cemetery. Is that still an option to do something like that? Because they have a meeting once a month, at the sprinkler fairs, and that's what they're saying, they overwhelm the streets over there.
There's no parking signs currently not there on the west side of Laramie, so that's why they're able to park there.
Okay.
And if we know that they're having an event, they can give us a time frame. We can work around that, but I do agree that by the firehouse, when they have events, it's pretty congested.
We gotta clean that
over
up.
there,
I
especially
agree
the
with
park
that,
and
sure.
everything over there.
Okay.
And actually, in taking a look at it and seeing the success we've had on our Joy 2nd Street, it's almost, to me, that if we were to sit there and say that the west side from the cemetery up to where the park is, as far south as the park, it seems to be more prudent. I just wanted to talk with the chief, find out exactly how far to go, because all the other residences that are on the west side of the street, their houses face not Laramie, but the actual streets.
Right.
So it seems to me that the lion's share of the responses that they have, north or south, that they would benefit from having unabated access to it.
Okay.
Right. And the up part along the east side of Laramie, just in front of the Bay Area also,
Yes, yes.
from 120th till just to the north of our driveway would
Right.
probably be the best areas for it.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief. That's all I have, sir.
All right, thanks. Next, Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
It'd be Trustee McLaughlin or Trustee Murphy, please.
I have a discussion for a front-end loader lease to be terminated by Alta Equipment, and we have Superintendent Mike Prater.
So, a little over a week ago, I had received a notification from Alta Equipment. That's who was providing us the lease agreement for front-end loader, a little over a year now. They are now suspending that program with the municipalities. Unfortunately, they've only given us 30 days with an option to continue the lease at $4,000 a month or to purchase. Unfortunately, this comes at a bad time. It's right before winter. The front-end loader is a vital piece of equipment, especially for winter operations. It's how we load salt into the trucks. It's how we push salt into our dome. It's multiple use between my department, the water department. It's necessary to have. So now we're kind of in a situation where we did not have this expected or appropriated to have to purchase an end loader. I am currently seeking prices from others. I've talked to Ken already about this and trying to find some monies within our budgets. We think we may have a line item that we will be able to allocate from, where we'll have to push a project off until next year in order to get this equipment. So again, I'm currently still seeking prices. The one that was offered from Alta Equipment seems extremely high and no longer includes the warranty. So I'm a little hesitant, plus disappointed in how Alta handled this. So wanted to bring it to your attention.
What's the condition of we're seeking option to buy what we're leasing right now?
Correct.
And what's the condition of that vehicle?
The front end loader is, it's a 2018. It's in perfect condition, but
But the price that
we're
they're
going from
quoting is too
$500
high.
a month that we were paying on this to
Now they're like
$4,000 they're offering or a purchase.
What would did they offer a purchase?
$162,000.
Ballpark, what's a new one run?
They're between $120,000 and $183,000.
Okay, so piece of equipment we've been using for the last year, they're basically quoting us a price for brand new equipment?
They knocked off $20,000 of the suggested price, and they're applying $11,000 from the lease payments that we had already paid on the unit. And it still comes to $162,000.
Get prices quick.
Offer up? Craigslist?
One other thing. We talked about presenting this here so you guys would know what's going on, but given that he needs that for winter and it is going to disappear soon and he needs to make a decision soon, if he can get prices, we'll work together to get a nice write-up. But your board meeting may or may not have something on there, just in the interest of timing on this one.
That's fine, we got to do the best we can.
Read your board packet carefully on this one, because there may be something or there may not be.
No, we know we're under pressure, and I agree with Mike. We weren't given much notice on this. We appreciate the opportunity they gave us with a great lease rate, but business is business. There's nothing we can do. It was an open-end lease, so.
And the real struggle is going to be whether I can get a unit immediately, whether it has to be built out. My hope is that there's one available and ready to go if we find one that's priced right. So that will be the other challenge with this. So
Okay,
The fact that they're actually coming off the price and that they're giving us, in essence, the credit for the lease payments made, I mean, it actually seems pretty fair.
I would agree. I told Mike the same thing. Yeah, but we're going to compare and see if we can do our shopping, and like anything else, maybe we get lucky with this. And I think we need to open up our zone a little bit if we have to go a little further out than we do, and that's it.
We looked at the Northwest Purchasing Cooperative, and they don't do front-end loaders. They do other vehicles, so we did investigate that as well.
Sure. We were blessed when we even had this last season, when our front-end loader went down, and Evergreen Park loaned us one, and that was great that they did. So we've done some, again, through networking. I've got a great relationship, as you do, with mayors and public work people and stuff then too, to obviously make that happen. I don't want to do that again if I don't have to and stuff, so.
And as Ken had stated, there's nothing listed in the Northwest Co-op purchase. However, there are companies there that work through Sourcewell, so that is same thing as basically the co-ops. It's, best provided pricing.
Right, but still lead time.
Correct. So that's what we're going to have to determine, is what kind of a lead time, if there's something available right away. So we may have to make a decision one way or the other.
So you might get a green one or something, as long as it's available.
Or what color it is, as long
Yeah,
as it's functioning.
So, well, thank you. Trustee
And that's all, sir.
Murphy, anything else? No, okay. Next, the sewer and water report. Trustee Nava-Esparza.
No report this evening, Mayor.
I did excuse Water Commissioner Tribun this evening. He had a small emergency he had to take care of. Next was the Building and Health Committee. Trustee Zelinski.
No report tonight.
Okay. And Human Resources and Insurance, Trustee Murphy.
We have an update on the 2020 village healthcare plans. I was given some highlights in regards to that healthcare. The results are in. We are pleased to see only a 2.45 increase to employee healthcare premium rates for the 2020 plan year. As we are experiencing last year, our renewals are coming in more favorable with a decreasing rate lower than market trends of 3 to 5%. So that's certainly good news. Kent, did you want to comment on any of this?
No, that's most of what it is. The dental is a little less than $1 a paycheck. That is going up. The vision is pretty flat. I think it actually goes down a penny or two a paycheck. But these are good rates. And we've informed the unions on these, and now it'll be time for the employees. They're putting together material for that. But I think the only other part that's important is for the employees. The open enrollment is going to be on November 12th at 8:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. or November 13th at 6 p.m. And so anybody, any employee wants to go and learn more about the healthcare options, either for health insurance, vision, or dental, they can go to any of those meetings, again, November 12th at 8:30 a.m. or 1:30 p.m. or November 13th at 6 p.m. Their spouses are welcome as well, either by themselves or with their employee spouse. So we highly encourage everyone to come to those. They're very informative meetings. Oh, one last thing. When it comes to new business, I actually have one.
All right. Anything else, Trustee Murphy?
Were we going to discuss on the, was that the other part you wanted to talk about?
There's some minor change. There is the high deductible plans have changes every year that the IRS and the ACA mandate. They're very minor. There is a HSA, a health savings account tweak. The idea was that the village is sort of front-end loaded the match or the contribution, which is a small amount, because the people who might want to change from the other insurance to that have a little bit of risk at the beginning. If you get hit by a bus the day after this happens, you don't have money in that account. So the village, for a few years, front-end loads its portion. It's the same amount as if you had wasn't front-end loaded, but the tweak is that starting with the third full calendar year, that for each individual person, that wouldn't be front-end loaded anymore because they would have had time to build up an HSA. So it's a really minor tweak, but in anybody's third full calendar year, it wouldn't be front-end loaded. So if there was a match, it would be when that person put the money in. If it was the contribution, it'd be just evenly over the whole year. And it's not changing the total amount that the village is paying one way or the other, assuming that that person stayed in it the whole year. So it's not changing the dollar amount.
Okay. So I'm going to have to jump on the bomb here and say, you got students in the room, nobody knows what an HSA is, an HCA or an ACA. You know,
basically,
it'll take us half a night to figure it out, but those are all just terms for each particular type of health account.
Yeah, basically health insurance, one of the kinds allows you to have literally a bank card and a bank account and use that to help pay for your costs of health insurance and health care. And
You're out of pocket.
you're out of pocket. You have literally a debit card
Right.
with a bank, and it's used for that.
Exactly.
It's called the health savings account.
Health savings account. Thank you, Kent. Trustee Murphy, anything else?
That's all, sir.
Okay, thanks. Next, we have the Special Committee Reports, Economic Development, Trustee Nava Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take some time to reference the newsletter. Great job. Loved it when I received it, and I saw on social media we received positive feedback. But just to mention and acknowledge businesses that are investing in our community, briefly just state their names: 7-Eleven Corp., Quality Pressure Wash, Lynch Chicago, Reza's Restaurant, Harold's Chicken, and Bet's Precision. So if residents didn't receive a copy, how could they get a hold of a...
Becky's got extra. You can stop at the Village Hall. They'll have them at the window. We'll give them to the clerk.
Okay.
I've got...
I'm going to have it posted on Facebook and on our website.
We'll do it digital on Facebook and our website, too.
Okay, thank you. And then also just to share to the village and those present of just some of the efforts that I've done. I did do a listening tour as I transitioned into my role as a trustee and met with various department heads and also with the Chamber of Commerce and the Alsip Industrial Association, and just highlighting some outreach that I've done in regards to just concerns that the Industrial Council shared with me about workforce and recruiting talent. So I've actively been trying to create relationships. I reached out to ASEA. I believe you were able to meet with a representative from ASEA just to learn about their workforce programs and so forth. Also connected to Moraine Valley Community College with Shantae Mack in career programs. She manages a WOAI program. Again, trying to connect even talent. A lot of Alsip residents go to Moraine Valley and see if they can connect to some industries that are actually trying to recruit workforce. Also, Daly College, the mayor and I, we actually visited Daly College. They received an investment from the city of Chicago in $45 million to build a manufacturing technology and engineering center, focus on manufacturing and, again, establishing apprenticeship programs. And we went with Dr. Garza and were able to meet with the president of Daly College. And I was able to connect them to the, I'm looking at Arnie as he's sitting there, to the Industrial Association. So hopefully, again, apprenticeship programs. And again, I need to send the information to the mayor and to Arnie as well about a NOFO for an apprenticeship expansion program under WOIA and also Illinois WorkNet. they're trying to basically connect with entities that, again, focus on workforce development, since I think the state and the state legislator body is also recognizing the importance of the trades and the manufacturing industry in our communities and also at the state level. I'm also going to switch gears and look at small businesses. What I can try to do to recruit partnerships and so forth like that. I met someone from the Women's Business Development Center. I have a pending meeting with her. And then also with DCEO, I met with Deanna Alfaro about potential workshops and so forth like that the state agency can kind of facilitate for us here in Alsip. Also on the next committee meeting, I'd like to propose the creation of an internship program, an economic development intern specifically, since the Economic Development Committee is something that I oversee, but I don't have a staff person dedicated to economic development, and this might introduce the village to, an intern. There's a lot of service learning programs that universities either pay their students to work at an entity, or again, a way for us to kind of get low-hanging fruit, maybe assist with like the beautification committee efforts as well, and just kind of assist with relationship building and so forth like that, since I believe a lot of economic development has been done through the mayor's office or through a consultant. So just trying to explore that, and I hope to present some information to the board about that type of a position. And that's the updates that I have.
I tell you, we as Trustee Navas-Esparza said, we about 2 weeks ago when we visited Daly College, and while Moraine Valley's got some great programs there as well too to promote manufacturing and a small amount of trade there too, they do a great job of promoting that. But it was explained to us too that city colleges, you're still, for high school students wishing to participate in being trained for manufacturing, like welding and things like that. That was an amazing school structure they just put up. $45 million investment by the city of Chicago. But even suburban students do qualify to attend classes there too.
Yes.
You don't have to be a city resident to go to school there.
Correct. And there, I believe it was Dr. Garza that mentioned that there's scholarship programs. If you are out of the district, that you would be eligible to apply to receive assistance with funding.
Yeah, they had robotics there and so forth. It was just an amazing school that they put together right at 76th and Pulaski. So not far from our neighborhood here at all. So thank you very much, Trustee.
No problem.
Next, we have the Village Properties Committee. Trustee McLaurin.
Excuse me. On the agenda, I have it listed as discussion regarding an exclusive management agreement for both the Heritage apartment complexes by Zeiler Management. This is just to fill the board in on what we're trying to do here. Right now, the way the two Heritages are handled are completely separate. One, Zeiler pays all the bills direct. The other one, the village is paying all the bills direct. We don't have a cohesive method of dealing with them. So the mayor and I have been speaking about basically sitting Zeiler down and coming up with one universal contract that'll handle both of the complexes in a uniform manner.
So I did speak to Trustee McLaurin last week, and what I was going to recommend was a meeting with, let's say, the administration, and certainly yourself as chair, if you like, because anytime we get more than 2 elected officials, we have to call a full meeting to not violate the Open Meeting Act. But what I'd like to do is meet with our current management company, and just, again, for everyone in the audience, the Heritage Apartments, we've got 2 complexes, one at 119th in Hamlin, another at 123rd in Hamlin, 512 apartments overall that the village owns the property, and we have a management company that oversees everything else, but we want to have them, as the trustee just explained, there's too many variables back and forth. We want to put together a true management agreement, and if for any reason those meetings fail, then we go out for an RFP and we'll bring in another company. But I want to get like one management company to oversee everything that goes on over there then too, because we got too many moving parts. We've got some of our personnel assisting theirs, and we need to separate that. We actually have to define, a management. Mr. Early's doing a great job over there, but again, you've got some of our, Roger's managing some of our guys, and they're managing some of our guys too, right, Raj? Is that what's going on? Yeah, I just want to get one
Right,
deal
we
there.
need one
that's
umbrella.
it, that kind of thing, so. But yeah, let's do that. Roger, certainly we'll invite you, and, because you got plenty of input in that then too, but I just wanted to bring this to the table so that the board understands what we're looking at, that's all. Anything else, trustee?
No, that's all I have under village properties.
One thing I wanted to remind you of, too, is we had discussion at our previous meeting, too, regarding cannabis use at the Heritage Apartments. Now, these are 55 and older communities. There's certainly all adults living there, and before they get back into renewing their leases, let's say starting in January, I don't know if we're going to write in the language or if it's being printed into those new leases, we should be talking about whether or not we're going to allow the consumption of cannabis in those facilities. I know medical's got its own rules, but as far as recreational goes, I think we should have that in writing somehow then, too. I don't know if it should just be written in with pen, but it should be printed in there in some capacity,
It's an easy change as long as the board, directs me to have that done. I think more than capable of having the attorneys do that.
Is that a big, how long is the turnaround for the printing on that, Raj?
It shouldn't take more than a week.
Really? Okay. All right. I just want to make sure we don't get caught in a 90-day window and then we get stuck somehow and stuff then, too.
Make that as a rider.
Yeah.
Mayor, can
Exactly, like a rider or some type, yeah.
the tape's not going to hear what he had to say. Did you want to just recap?
What'd you say? Roger said it's a week or two, but as trustee Elzell said, too, we can always draft a rider just to go with it, that's all. Okay. Next is the Ordinance and Legislation Committee, trustee Zelinski.
And no report this evening.
All right, thank you. IT, trustee Delzell.
The request for approval to renew copier leases with new copiers for the police and finance departments. Proven IT of Tinley Park. It's at a cost of $384.38 per month for a period of 5 years. And finance is still working out the...
Actually, I have an update on that.
And please give us...
Brian Massari has been working with our current vendor. We had a problem with, actually, we're merging the copier from finance and the copier from police into one contract. Merging those together and looking at our print counts has actually possibly lowered, it's hard to tell, but it looks like flat or lowered the overall cost. One problem we had with the police one, though, is the turnaround time was sort of too fast for our municipality in order to review. We review bills in this meeting, the committee of the whole, and then they're paid the next, they're approved the next one, and then the checks are cut and gone out. And it was too fast of a turnaround for the way a municipality does it. Brian's worked with that vendor, and it's going to be a 45-day lead time before the bill is due, which is longer than it was before. And then there's even a 10-day grace period on the back, so it's 55 days. And to make it even better than that, which is more than enough time, there is some sort of online portal. So as soon as they print the bill, we could actually go in and look at it before it even arrives in the mail. I've talked with AP, and they said that that's more than enough time. So if we go with this, which is a renewal of leases that have expired, they're 5-year leases, this will actually be an improvement, and we won't continually be talking about that one copier lease that always seems to appear to be late.
However...
can I ask you, maybe, even if a lot of us, I work here all day, but say in your own job, 5-year agreement, does that seem pretty standard?
I mean, as long as the price is right, and if you see a lot of fluctuation in it, then maybe you'd sit there and see that, or if all of a sudden the copiers are getting more efficient or less expensive, or